You're listening to the InFocus Interview Show, brought to you by photofocus.com, an online publication filled with education and inspiration for visual storytellers. This episode is made possible by our partners, Lume Cube, the world's most versatile light, and Drobo, a smart storage solution. Now here's your host, Vanelli.
Hello and welcome. I'm Vanelli. My guest for this InFocus episode is a well-respected Photoshop tutor and photo editor who hosts one of the most successful Facebook groups with close to 500,000 members. Please welcome Andrew Kavanagh. Hey, Andrew, how are you doing?
Glad to be here, Vanelli.
Now, Andrew, our topic today is how to successfully host a Facebook group, and you're one of the gurus when it comes to hosting Facebook groups. You've done this for how long now?
We just passed 9 years. October 6th, 2010, I started the group.
Yeah, almost 500,000. That's 500,000 people. That's amazing. Now, what are some of your tips? So somebody's just starting out and they want to host a Facebook group. What are a few of your tips?
Right. So the main thing is to have a focus of, a passion of yours. And so mine is Photoshop and Lightroom, which also incorporates the photography industry, but we obviously couldn't say Photoshop and Lightroom and photography. It'd be a little bit of a long name for a group, but we believe that Photoshop and Lightroom encapsulates the photography world. So kept it to Photoshop and Lightroom. And so, it has to be a passion, something that you'd be willing to dedicate to on a daily basis. I put in a huge amount of time in the last 9 years, even though I got smarter after at least a couple years and got more admins and moderators for the group have been very helpful. Now, for me, one thing that kind of helped my vision along was I had the idea of creating a group not just about Photoshop and Lightroom and photography, but a big focus of my group was for it to be a very helpful group. And by helpful, I also wanted to get people who were in the industry and could share knowledge and experience with people who really wanted to learn. So I really wanted to balance those two groupings of people. And I started just basically posting what I felt was very helpful video tutorials. And then I invited people who also created video tutorials or had printed, blog tutorials or newsletters who would share that. And the content just kept building and more people would, as it builds, Facebook gives a little bit of help when you hit I believe, at least they used to, when you hit the 5,000 mark, they start kind of suggesting your group and other related groups of similar interest.
Well, that's great. Now, a couple of things. First of all, you're doing this for a passion,
right?
But if somebody wants to do this, are they able to at least make a return on their investment with the time, with their energy? What are some things they can do to help with that?
You mean like how can they monetize?
Yeah.
Well, so for me, I kind of just put myself really into it for the first few years, and then people kept saying, "Are you monetizing this group?" And they kept kind of hinting that or asking about that. And I was just kind of balancing it with my time as a, Photoshop and Lightroom tutor and photo editor. But what happened is when we got to about 100,000, I was about to reach out to various people in the industry and say, do you have an affiliate program? And what the irony was, what happened was, as I was about to do it, a bunch of those people in the industry reached out to me and asked if I wanted to be an affiliate. And so I said, absolutely. And so to be transparent, when I promote certain things, not all things, but certain things in the group, it's because I'm an affiliate and I truly believe in what I promote. So there's still the passion behind it, but I do make a little bit of a commission on certain things.
And which you should. It's what's the old saying now? If either you're buying the product or you are the product.
Right.
So when you buy when you get a free app from the App Store, if you pay for it, well then you're buying the product.
Right.
If you don't pay for it, well then you are the product because there's ads and there's reasons why they do it, and they have to, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
One thing I do respect about you a lot is that you don't promote things that you don't believe in.
Absolutely.
And that's where, again, I've seen you take things down to where you're like, you know what? Sorry, I don't believe in this anymore. The whatever, either the program, the company, or whatever it is going in a different direction. I personally don't feel this is helpful to our group. So you've stepped away from that. And that says a lot, about your character, and it says a lot about your group and where you're heading with it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, exactly. That is, in fact, a lot of times I'm kind of baffled that people aren't asking me with like a size of my group, hey, can you promote this? So a lot of times when I see something that someone has released, like a new book or a new course, I will say, do you want me to promote it? And I'm not necessarily coming from the angle of how can I make money from it. I'm just thinking, this is sincere. I like what you've done in the past. Can I promote this? So I will reach out to people and say, hey, do you want me to promote your event, your new book, your new course, your new plugin, your new presets? So I balance that with, some of my affiliate promotions. But I'm always keeping my eye out, and I'm always kind of passionate about supporting other people. And then what I also do is I put out a weekly newsletter. So every Tuesday, just came out this morning. Every Tuesday, I will have a newsletter called the Photoshop and Photography newsletter, where I have an artist who submits their bio, and then it has their links, and then it has their artwork. So it's my way of saying, here's someone I believe in who does great work. And it could be someone who's very photography focused, or it could be someone who's very photo illustration focused, photo compositing, or fine art focused. It's quite the range. And that's also what makes the newsletter kind of exciting for me, is I always feel like I'm bringing what I consider excellent artists to the community, but they can be completely different. So one week could be someone who's very traditional, beautiful black and white type of photography. And the next week could be someone who does like surrealistic photo compositing.
Exactly. Well, that's how I met Dennis Dunbar, was through you.
Yeah, so Dennis Dunbar is a great retoucher here in the Los Angeles area. And he's worked on various like movies, like movie posters, and maybe even like the promo packages for the whole, exhibits for that movie. But yeah, I think he's done a lot for the movie industry and entertainment industry in general. But yeah, he's a good friend.
So that's one of the benefits of hosting a group, is that you start to meet some of the top people in the industry. And I mean, you, of course, you make a living being a tutor and a photo editor, helping people. So it's given you a position of authority. So if somebody wants to learn about Photoshop Photoshop, and they need a tutor, well, who better to ask than the person who's actually running the group? So that's another benefit for hosting your own group.
Right. The only thing, though, with that is, to be honest, is in the group, we are a bit strict about not letting people do a lot of self promotion. I mean, they can post links when they post their artwork, but we don't let people do any kind of overt self promotion, only because we always want the group to be very responsible. And so if we let people who I believe in do overt self promotion, then if there's people who, to be honest, don't do good work and they're promoting, we don't want to be responsible for like, well, we found him in your group and he did crappy work, or he or she did crappy work. So we're always thinking of how does this relate to the bigger picture? And so when we make certain judgments about the group, it's only because we foresee what could become a legal issue, a personal issue, someone getting hurt, someone getting scammed. So we don't allow that. But at the same time, I do have a Facebook business page, which has more than 10,000 likes, followers, whatever. And so that is where I will promote my tutoring or my photo editing, and post my artwork. And, I also promote things in general there too. But the business page is more where I can be found for that, or where I might promote myself.
Well, that's great. And I'm sure you've met a lot of people in the industry over the years.
Yeah, well, that's the great part is, you have this group and you're having this discourse online and you're friendly online, but then it's really nice to meet people in the real world. So I came to Photoshop World where I met you in person for the first time too, and a lot of other people. I have been going to the independent or individual uh, seminars of like Scott Kelby, RC, Matt Kloskowski, Corey Barker, Dave Cross for years, and Burt Monroy, I believe I've seen a few times. But this was the first time after all these years that I ever went to Photoshop World, and that was quite fun. So thank you for that. Yeah.
Oh, we had a great time.
Yeah, and Adobe Max is coming up very soon this weekend. So
Now, you're well, friend. You're well. I did it again. What is wrong with me today? One moment. You know Jesus, right? Ramirez.
oh yeah, he used to be an admin for my group, in fact.
Okay. So let's talk about Jesus for a moment. 12. Ready? I mean, it's funny because let me try it again. Ready?
Yep.
Now, we just came back from Photo Plus Expo, and I hung out with one of our mutual friends, Jesus Ramirez. And that was the first time I got to hang out with him because we were slammed during the day. And I think it was like 2:00 at night is when we finally got to meet up with him. And yeah, but it's funny because I first met or heard of him through your Facebook group. And, here he is, a very well-known and well-respected Photoshop instructor. And once again, that connection that you helped make was through the Facebook group. And we had a great time. I don't know if you saw our Facebook videos that we produced with Matt Hayward. We had a little fun late at night. But again, we contribute that to you because of the group that you have. Now, let's think of it this way. Let's visualize. Now, we're doing this because we're well known. Well, we know photography, Photoshop, Luminar, Lightroom. We know the photo editing and the photography part of our industry. If somebody were to come along, let's say doing a food Facebook group,
Okay.
they can achieve the same through using some of your tips and the stuff that you're teaching. They could host a very successful group, and the same thing could happen to them. They could start meeting people in the industry that really brings into the food industry. And then same with what you did with developing and creating a network of people. They could do the same thing with other genres.
Right. So for that, I would say, it's the same thing. You'd have to have a passion for food or cooking. And so say it was like a cooking or recipe type group. It would just be, I would say that you would have to have a good body of recipes built up, a lot of good quality photos of cooking, like the beginning process, the ingredients, the after presentation photos, and then same focus as I did, which is maybe reach out to people in the food industry who might want to do, like, say, a webinar or a live video in the group, someone who might be willing to be an ongoing content provider for the group, and then match that with people who want to become a better cook, or food. What's it called?
Culinary arts.
Yeah, culinary arts, or like display. Someone who does food display or whatever. But maybe keep
stylist.
Stylist, yeah, like a food stylist. But maybe more like cooking might be a better theme in my brain. But yeah, the same kind of principle. You balance it between people in the industry with people who want to learn, and you just make sure you're well prepared before you kind of start, so that there isn't kind of a lag of time where there's no content being generated. And I think what happens is when you mutually balance those two worlds, it kind of has a natural momentum to it.
Well, that's great. All right. Well, listen, we have to take a moment and thank our partners. When we come back from the break, we'll talk about pros and cons of Facebook.
Lume Cube. Lume Cube is proudly known as the world's most versatile light. It's the smallest, lightest, most compact professional lighting solution on the market. Lume Cube represents the future of LED lighting and is a must-have for anyone looking to create better photos and video. Check out the new Lume Cube Strobe, offering anti-collision lighting for drones at lumecube.com. Drobo. Drobo is a smart storage solution that protects photos, videos, and more from hard drive failure, giving peace of mind for the working pro or serious amateur who have a lot of external drives cluttering up their desktop. Save 10% at drobostore.com with the coupon code PHOTOFOCUS.
And I'm back with my guest, well-respected Photoshop tutor and photo editor, Andrew Kavanagh. Before the break, we were talking about the pros and cons of Facebook. Now, you gave a lot of great tips on how to create the Facebook group. So what are some of the benefits you feel you personally get for having the Facebook group?
Right. So, you build up a nice group and, it takes time though. I mean, you can't expect it to explode in like even 1 year. I mean, I've been doing this for 9 years, but you dedicate to it and it builds. If it's sincere focus, I think it'll build. One thing that I've always been kind of strict about is we don't allow what I consider crappy content in the group. So other groups might be a little bit more lax, and we will let like some funny type of posts or GIFs or whatnot in, but we don't let excessive amounts of that, because I've seen other groups kind of fall away because they've let anything and everything post. So, but I would say the pros mainly is when you start building up a good network of people, then you start seeing some really good shares. So you see some really good wisdom, some really good courses, some great artwork, some really fantastic photography. So it's very rich. I find the group to be very rich with a huge diversity of talent. So there's such a big spectrum.
Exactly. Now that was one. You introduced me to something Facebook has. They're called units.
Oh yeah. So I think that came out maybe a year ago, but so they introduced new features in groups, and one thing they introduced was units about, like I said, about a year ago. And with units, you can create different. I guess there's all different reasons you can create it, but for me, I created it to focus on different videos or live video broadcasts for different people. So as an example, I could have one for Vanelli, and I even have one for me for the few YouTube videos I have, but I also have one for like the live video or webinars that we've done. And then I showcase, as you talked about earlier, Jesus Ramirez for Photoshop Training Channel. I have one for Colin Smith of Photoshop Cafe, and another person who's way back when we had speak in our group and then started populating his unit of his YouTube, which he has many, is Unmesh Dinda from India, who's a rock star of Photoshop and Lightroom. So units are a great way to have it very organized. Top left, you click on units, you see all the different units. You can go in and watch to your heart's content all the different videos.
Great. So this way, people don't have to search the group itself for these videos. You have them nicely organized.
Correct.
In one section.
Yep.
Now, everything sounds perfect. So why isn't everyone hosting Facebook groups? So what are some of the cons with hosting a Facebook group?
So some of the cons are just the way that Facebook runs things. Don't get angry at me, Facebook. But, as an example, there's certain kind of search features that would be really helpful in the group, and they've been limited for us finding things. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. And then one thing that they did is about half a year ago, maybe, they created a new feature called Group Quality, where Facebook monitors the group. And so what happens is if there are things that go against Facebook's policy, they will give you a violation. And so, as an example, in our group, which is very photography based, they became very strict and overzealous about monitoring our group about nudity and semi-nudity. And so we got a series of violations for that, which is also a big reason why we're moving to a new group. So it'll be fresh and no violations. And because what happens is they also warn you that when you get an accumulative amount of violations, that your group itself can be removed. And
Wow.
out of respect towards the community that we've built, um, I don't want to take that chance of losing the group altogether just because they're being overzealous about that policy. And when I say overzealous, I mean, sure, they are on point at some times, but other times I felt that they've been a little too extreme. And I've even heard complaints in other groups where someone posted something as innocent as like a brown bear in the woods, and that was flagged as nudity. So there's like bots that are going out and trying to flag things that are doing an incorrect assessment of what the image really is.
And that's the hardship because you're not dealing with people, you're dealing with a bot that,
Right.
like you just said, could misinterpret what one of the photos are. So when that happens, who do you contact?
Well, see, that's another, con about Facebook. A bad thing is that they don't make it that easy. There is a feature at the bottom left of your group when you're an admin where you can get help or contact them. But a lot of times it seems like the answer you get is like something that they've copied and pasted. So, or maybe it's even a bot that's responding to me back. So I could be complaining about a bot, and maybe a bot is who responds back to me. So here we are in the future world, But
And
yep,
yeah, it's hard. It's hard because we want it to be monitored. Because I don't want, let's say children, going to a website and they're seeing all this, horrible stuff, whether it's, nudity or
or like
violence.
violence, right?
Yeah. So, I understand where that's coming from, but at the same time, if there's not human interaction at some point, how do we, how do you say, hey, look,
Right,
I've had this group for 9 years and now you're shutting it down? Yeah. So that,
right.
that would be a
So
pretty,
So we've gotten pretty strict. I mean, and it says that in the guidelines, no nudity, no overly violent imagery. Like if someone has like an image that they've made a composite of someone with like a gun, our kind of philosophy is if it looks like a movie poster that's out there to promote a movie of that nature, an action movie, then it's fine. But if it's something where it's, kind of disturbing violence of one person against another person, or like a suicide type of imagery, we don't allow that. I mean, that makes members uncomfortable. Members will then complain to the admins, can you please remove this, whatever. And then political stuff, we don't allow political stuff because there's such a spectrum of political views, and we don't want the group to become a kind of arena for arguments. It's supposed to be a helpful group, supposed to stay on topic, on focus, it's supposed to be a creative group, and that's the way we want it to keep running. So we don't allow political posts as such either.
gotcha. So now you are in the process of moving your group. What,
Right.
what does that entail?
So it's a big process because, I mean, that's another con too, where if Facebook had a simple like merge function, then we can merge the new group, merge the old group to the new group, but they don't. So what I have to do is I have to annoy my members by repeat posting a warning or a reminder that we are moving. And so, say on November 7th, we are going to be turning off the ability to post in the group. Now, what that means is if you're a member of that group, it's, 446,000, that's a lot of people. When you come back, if you're away for a couple of days and you come to the group on November 7th, you will be able to go to the group and you'll be able to see post, and you'll be able to click on the links that we have at the top to join the new group. So if anyone's listening, don't freak out. You can click on the links and join the new group, but you cannot post any longer starting on November 7th. So that's our way of trying to get people to move over faster. And at the same time, I have to give a big thank you to a lot of people in the industry who have posted about the move and given a good shout out. So anyone from Russell Brown from Adobe to Lori Rubin to Ron Clifford to Mark Heaps to Jesus Ramirez. I believe Colin Smith may have posted about it. So there's a lot of people in the industry who've been helpful with this because we really want to get it out. I'm not so concerned about the numbers. Like it's not like I need to move 446,000 people over. I understand that there might be lurkers. So lurkers meaning people who join the group but never post anything and don't really even visit, but they just want to be part of the group. So I'm expecting that, we will lose some people. That's to be expected. But my main concern is I don't want to lose anybody, not one person who's actively involved in that group. So sorry, everyone, if I'm a little annoying right now by being repetitive, but we're just trying to make sure that people see that. And then there will be repeat posts when I turn off the ability to post in the group. So I'm going to have about 3 posts right at the top that will say, we've moved, so come on over to the new group. It's very simple. Click on the link. And then I believe we did there's a setting though that does help you from Facebook, where if you are a member in the old group, when you click on that link to ask to join, I believe you're immediately accepted. Yeah, you're immediately automatically accepted. I don't even think you have to answer any questions. And if you do have to answer any questions, you can just say yes, 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 whatever, or okay. But I believe it's automatic. So if you're an original member, you should be able to just click the link, ask to join, and you're in. So
now it's safe to say, somebody could easily say to us, hey, well, Facebook is free. So why are you upset if they have to do these, things? Well, let's not forget what we said earlier. Either you're paying for
what though?
You're paying for it. Well, if somebody gets upset, saying, I can't believe Facebook is going to shut my group down.
Oh, yeah.
For all these violations. Well, let's not forget, it's not costing anything to go on Facebook. However, like we said earlier, you're not buying a product. We are the product because of all the Facebook ads, and they're making money with our information.
Right. I'm always aware it's their platform and it's a free platform for us. So they are maybe data mining and watching all our information and seeing how we interact and all that wonderful stuff. But that's the price you pay for it. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind
with that. I'm trying to think of a good. The other day, I had to look up. Oh, the microphones. My son is heavily into recording podcasting and music, and so we looked up this new
on Amazon, and then you came back to Facebook, and there was a whole slew of that happens to me too. Yeah.
Yep, and I have no problem with that because now it's showing me, hey, or just for a joke, I clicked on there was a Maserati locally for sale, and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. So I clicked on it, and I was like, wow, yeah, I'm not going to purchase that. Well, about maybe 10 minutes later, there was 5 or 6 other Maseratis that were in my feed.
Right.
So however they do it, that's, to me, I personally like it because then when I am serious about looking for something, I have more options.
But, on the flip side, I would say if there are people who are truly concerned of their privacy, even though they want to enjoy Facebook and Amazon and whatnot, there are obviously browsers and browser add-ons that you can use that will kind of keep you more private. And I know that there's obviously private mode that you can go to. So let's see if I even
the incognito.
Incognito for Chrome, and then it's like private mode for Opera, and then there's now let's see, Brave. Brave is a nice browser that focuses on privacy. So if you go in like private mode, you might have a better chance of limiting what's being tracked. And there must be add-ons or extensions you can get for any particular browser that will help you with that. I myself am not overly concerned. I feel like they'd probably get it anyways. But if you are concerned, there's, I think, always a way that you can make it a little bit more private.
Hey, Andrew, thank you so much for taking time out and meeting with us today. Now, if our listeners want to find out more about you and about the Facebook group, where can they find more information?
So the first thing is if you were to do a search, so if you go up to the general search in Facebook and you type in Photoshop and Lightroom or Photoshop and Lightroom Group, the main thing is do not ask to join the Photoshop and Lightroom parentheses old group. It says the word old in the name now, as the ability to post to that group will be ending on November 7th. So the main thing is just look for the Photoshop and Lightroom Group. which I think is about 6,500 now, but should be 10,000 by this weekend. Hopefully by November 7th, maybe 20 to 50,000. And then
Wow.
people can keep joining, and, maybe it'll get up to 150 to 200,000, which is fine with me. But if you want to go directly to the URL web address, that would be the www.facebook.com/groups/Photoshop Lightroom Group, as if it's one word, Photoshop Lightroom Group, or do a search. And then if you wanted to find me on Facebook, my business page is Photoshop Tutor and Photo Editor. And there's like my portrait photo, pic. So you'll see me in my aging glory.
Well, hey, thank you so much. And again, thanks for taking time out of your schedule today.
Thank you.
You are listening to the InFocus Interview Show. If you like these interviews, be sure to subscribe to our weekly Photo Focus podcast on photofocus.com. Thank you for joining us.